I don't know what you're doing, but that's whatever. Sure. Yeah, no, you know, every person's gonna have. Yeah. Good job, prostate cancer. On the radiation treatment. On that on yesterday. Thank you. Good morning.
Oh, is it big enough for us? Can you read it?
I don't forget the microphone.
Doing all right. Got a lot of big.
Yeah. It's good.
Oh my.
Oh, yeah. Fix the roads, not the roads without use, right?
It looks.
It does.
Good morning, Ashley.
How are you?
Good, you?
Good.
It's closer to being right. Okay, it's 8 o'clock, so I'll call the Russ County Emergency Services Committee meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is to elect a vice chair because Tom Kudo was the vice chair, and he has resigned. So we need to elect a vice chair for this committee. I'll entertain nominations.
I make the motion that Phil be the vice chair.
Do you accept the nomination?
Yeah.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, motion's made and second to elect Phil as the vice chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. You are the new vice chair. Okay, next thing, the approval of the minutes from June 11th. Motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes from June 11th. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Public comment. Public comment. Yes.
Thanks, and I'll be available too, for a discussion item later if there's any questions. This will be more kind of personal thoughts. But the, agenda item related to the EDA at Gates Avenue, I did, reach out to all of you, with some thoughts on that, so hopefully you had a chance to read that. I think at the end of the day here, there's more to that occupancy out at Gates Avenue, than just the EDA agreement, but it seems that's become the main focus. I think the bigger thing here is, the city and county made a commitment to one another in going into that building, both putting their own money into that building and seeking grant funds to use it for economic development. We made that pledge. We're kind of married to it. The city was also, given that promise in a temporary usage that's now expanding into 7 years. was approved that it would be just a temporary use for a time. I guess, you know, my concern is, are we really honoring the vows that we made to one another in that marriage? What does that say about our character if we're not able to honor those commitments that our organizations made to one another at differing times in that history? So there's definitely more to it than just the EDA related side of things. Maybe the EDA has just been the focus because that's the only defensible part of it. Well, maybe that's expired, but I think at the end of the day, the commitments we made to each other, the resolutions that our governing bodies both made to undertake that project, the finances that we kicked into it, I'll have to come into play, you know, as well as the consideration that we're keep increasing the rent on the private sector to cover not making any money on a third of that building. I don't know how you can look the private sector in the eye when we're struggling countywide with economic development, especially on the east side, and tell them, hey, we need you to pay more to carry this building for us. But that's just my opinion. So thank you for your time. And again, I'm available if there's questions.
I do have a question, and I did read your letter. Do you have anyone interested in this? And have you had in the past people interested in their business there, but you haven't been able to offer it?
Correct. We have in the past, even dating back to when Andy was still here in the admin coordinator position. Ones that have looked at it or heard about it, we haven't ever been able to give them a definitive timeline as to when they can move in, because it's always been, well, we can get you in there, but we have to find a spot for the sheriff's department first. Okay, well, when will that be? Well, we don't know, because we've got to find it. Well, if you've got a business or whatever, you can't rely on, I don't know, we'll get you in there someday. You need to know. And, you know, preferably it would be turnkey and ready to go. It's been an increasing struggle to show the property, even, you know, lack of cooperation in the elected folks in that regard, whether it's getting a business in there or an electrician in there. I've got plenty of emails and things of that nature that I can provide if needed, but yeah, that sort of indefinite time of when you could get in there has been an issue. When people do get in there, you can't take pictures or anything, and obviously, you know, with the nature of evidence and things like that, it's certainly a security issue, but you can't take pictures. You get yelled at if you're looking at electrical panels. How can you take that back to your board or your boss or whatever and say, yeah, I think this will work? You know, it's easier to show and rent a building that's vacant, that's sitting there empty, that's basically turnkey ready to move in. So, we have in the past, there's at least one place that I referenced there and provided an email that got outright turned away. Even though the county had made a promise that space would be yielded to the private sector, they were told, no, there's nothing available. So, yeah. And I can, provide greater details if anyone needs. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any other public comment?
Get me started, Terry.
Public comment is now closed. Okay, we have called in, or
We don't think he's available today.
okay. I think, should we go through with what he's got here? Okay, you should all have this on your laptops. His thing is that the EMA, the grants for the hazard mitigation plan are on hold, and again, may be approved without an update. And grants for MTG that pay a portion of the wage and benefit package for the EM director are currently on hold and may be combined with 26 funds if the feds decide to reinstate unknown at this time. Again, I'm going over his report. For ambulance, 254 new step installed and waiting on new windshield. Also hit a deer with very little damage. I don't know if that's to the ambulance or the deer. Rear door repaired as it would not open.
If I can go back to the step, that was one of the best things we've done. Before, to get in there, I mean, the step was probably that high to step up, so you built up your biceps pulling yourself in. But now the step is wonderful. Now that they're working, I am a little upset that they put it in, it didn't work. So we had to bring the Sheldon ambulance up here because the guy could not go to Sheldon. This is ridiculous. Huh? Oh. But anyhow, they're a great improvement. They're gonna be really good down the road for physical problems, so.
Like an automatic step or something?
Yeah, you open the door and it comes out. Shut the door, but, well, it didn't quite work that way in the beginning. So.
Okay, ambulance 253, no issues, same as 254, 251, change some lighting options so that lights stay on longer. 250 electric door lock still not working, so Toyson will need it in Chippewa to fix it. The Regent, the paperwork, the Medicaid reimbursement has been completed by Teresa. And if they're correct, we've seen an additional payment of just over 20,000. Great news. New EMT and Tony, Wendy Sinor, and one of those taking classes in Minnesota is completed, now waiting for a license for Wisconsin. That may be Caden Gerber. I'm not sure if that's that person. Both will be starting orientation processes. Training, he did CPR for public health and 3 dispatchers, and have 3 dispatchers to get done now. Meetings attended, highway, via phone, and emergency services online. Training reports. Next thing would be approval of the bills for him. It's on bills. At the EMT class in there. Equipment, ambulance, the radio. Any other questions on the bills? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve payment of the bills.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motions have made and seconded to approve payment of the bills for emergency services management for the ambulance. All those in favor say aye. Both say no. Motion carried.
I'd just like to ask, maybe Ashley knows, but now that Williams is selling, yeah, what the future of that house is.
I haven't heard anything.
That's the rumor out there that he's trying to unload a bunch of his
He
properties.
did unload
He
a
is.
chunk of them, but
Okay,
I'm guessing that one's a guaranteed rent, so.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, so. Okay.
Okay, the budget review, he he has no concerns at this point. And for, this is budget 250 for the ambulance, that it's, under, again, this would be through May. Oh, no, it should be through June. Going on. That one, 252, the ambulance grant. Again, no concerns there. 253 LEPC operations, no concern. LEPC grant, no concerns. Again, a lot of the stuff doesn't have it. 255 emergency management. Again, no concerns. There's been some expenditures, but he thinks they'll come out of that. And then he signed it. So I'll need a motion to approve the budget review and forward to the finance committee.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the emergency management ambulance budget review for the month of June and forward to the finance committee. Any further discussion?
I do have a question. There's a fundraiser for Tom this month, 26th, I believe. It's gonna be at Fire Station. Where do we send donations?
My suggestion would be to get a hold of either Teresa Ludvigsen or the gal from Hawkins,
Oh, this stuff.
Lisa Kuzna.
Oh, I find their numbers.
Good question. I'll look into it and I can send them to you. Yep, I can do that.
You have the date.
July 26th,
July 26th, where is it gonna be at?
Fire Hall. It's a spaghetti dinner with graphic.
Like to make.
In the afternoon,
Like
11 to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. BMA car show is that day too, so. good luck.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up.
Teresa Ludwig's, her number's 415 6554.
415-6554.
Okay, nothing else, medical examiner.
He called the sheriff's office and she's not going to be able to.
Okay, moving on to medical examiner report. Again, just looking at that quickly, for June, there were 7 deaths and 10 cremations. She had 3 hospice and 20 on-call. There really isn't much more. She's got hours left for her on-call stuff. And I don't have any training requests. I guess the next thing will be to approve the payment of her bill, which is 0.
So that one's pretty simple. Sounds like that whole thing.
Okay, the motion,
Heard that one.
the motion has been made and seconded to approve the payment of the bills for the medical examiner, and which should total out to be 0. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Opposed say no. Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the budget review. Budget report for her. This July, okay. You can see what she has there. She's well under everything and she has no concerns, and she only has the one thing, one budget. And again, she didn't sign it, but I think she doesn't know how to do that. That came up last time too. So unless there's any questions on budget for 105, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget review and forward to finance.
Motion, I'll make a motion.
A motion made and seconded to approve budget review for the month of July. And forward to finance. All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, sheriff's report.
Okay, month of June, our ADP was 24. Still have one made out of county on electronic monitoring. Deputy Heater went to basic SWAT training. Been on the team for a couple months. I don't see there's any upcoming requests. Nothing to approve there. The regular monthly meetings were attended, the radio tower meeting, board meeting, personnel, emergency services, county board, and the building security meeting. The only thing that sticks out to me in our calls for services are emergency detentions are way up there. They're costing us a lot of money.
They're gonna be getting worse.
Yeah.
What do you define as emergency detention?
Emergency detention is a mental health.
Oh,
You have to take someone into custody and bring them to a mental health facility.
Two just yesterday.
and where do hours go?
Almost all of them go to Winnebago. Just 4.5, 5 hours away. So a typical emergency detention call ties at least one deputy up for 12 to 18 hours. Oftentimes it's all people in. So, been a lot of them this year and a lot in the last 2 months.
Is there any foreseeable betterment of that picture, sending them where we do, or?
The problem is there's very few facilities. Because Winnebago is a state-owned facility. We're the only one that can't decline a patient. Claire can decline, Rhinelander can decline, Amory can decline. Winnebago is always our last choice. But they're usually where 90% of them go.
That's just the start of the cost.
Yeah.
That's the start.
Two chapter transports ago, that did a whole lot of damage to the squad car. With the camera off, broke the camera housing, tore the door handle off the inside of the squad. So they're expensive and take up a lot of manpower.
Typically, how long are they there? I mean,
3 days.
Then you have to go and get them or not?
Usually they have court via Zoom. And almost all the time they're released on that 3rd day from the hospital.
released to,
Society.
But then do you have to bring them back here? Release down there.
so the public then has them again.
Rinse and repeat.
Usually, it's the same people. No different than it was 20 years ago, Mike.
Yeah. It's a costly venture, I'll tell you. You get in front of that judge, he'll put you in detention. And he won't tell you the end you're getting out. And it was $1,500. I don't know what it is now,
A
but
lot more than that.
you know, sometimes them guys are stuck in there for 9 months or a year.
That cost is incurred by HHS. We get the original cost.
That's what I meant. I mean, that's just the start of the cost. It may not be to you guys, but the, you know,
So, and because it's,
taxpayer.
yeah, because it's Winnebago, which is about a 12-hour round trip thing, it's about 5 hours one way. If any of our transports are more than 4 hours one way, we have 2 deputies. Because if you can't stop and use the bathroom and keep that inmate in your squad car, so we always send 2 if it's more than 4 hours one way. So what we've been doing quite a bit lately is we've been using transport companies to transport those chapters to Winnebago. Because it's the same cost for us to order in 2 deputies on their day off, pay them overtime and ruin their day off and increase burnout. So we've been using transport companies. That's $1,200 just for the transport. But we'd incur the same cost if we used our staff. So
I feel when we had Sacred Heart, that for that Sacred Heart. And then also we had a little facility at the Northern Center. You know, we could you know, that was pretty convenient for us, at least, you know, we had 24 hours or 48 hours, but you start taking to Winnebago, that's a big deal. Like you said, what happens, the hour, 1 hour on the road, and the guy has to go to the bathroom, the person has to go, you know what, you just can't leave person in the filling station or whatever.
Law enforcement, law enforcement all over the state has been begging and begging for more facilities, but
You know, like $15 million that was supposed to go in Sacred Heart, that totally, well, basically disappeared. They're trying to get some of it now in this new bill they're trying to pass, but that'll be filled up the day the doors open. You know, that's not big enough for northern Wisconsin by a long shot.
those are up a lot this year, costing a lot of money.
If you lose your medical insurance, it's gonna go soaring.
So next is the overtime. First one is the road overtime. Second one is the dispatch overtime. Still a lot of time in jail dispatch.
Is it getting better with these ones?
Yeah, we've got to
Slowly.
slowly, you know, as long as nobody else leaves, we should be full staffed in the jail. In a month or two. But all those new staff still aren't all trained dispatch either. We trained in the jail, not trained in dispatch. We also have 5 or 6 still have to go to jail school. Just 5 weeks, then you gotta fill their shifts with overtime. So we're hoping, an admin meeting yesterday. We're hoping that we are at a personnel point where we can send 2 to jail school this late fall or winter.
Middle school is,
It's either in Eau Claire, Polk County, or Douglas County.
Madison for a change.
So there's the overtime postings. And next it's bills.
Hey, looking at the bills, do you have any questions for me? No training requests, you said, this time. I see your E9s on here a couple of times for this emergency stuff. We talked about that before.
Yeah, for medical.
Did you ever hear back from?
They requested pictures and a story or 2 of Bryce's favorite times with legal before they'll approve any money given to us. So we are just waiting to send that stuff over.
Soft.
Yeah, they want some pictures of Leo and
That's like a really good sign.
Yeah.
You're gonna get something anyway.
yes, hopefully.
Anything's gonna help.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, it doesn't matter what, but anything, but that's a good sign, I would say.
Yeah, and hopefully he's done with the big vet appointments now, so.
And you'll see there's 2 $1,200 charges on there from assurance transport for those we're talking about.
I'll make a motion for you though.
I'll second it, but then I do have a question. This is the only one that popped up, the initial issue vest carrier, I presume,
What page you on?
2 towards the bottom.
For,
Safe line defense.
oh, yeah. Yeah, that's for a new jailer.
So a special case they carry it in,
Yeah, they carry all the equipment on their
On it.
vest instead of
they're
their.
ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. But my God, I don't charge that much for a suitcase.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded to approve the bills, approve the payment of the bills. The Sheriff's Department. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Okay, next thing is tower project updates.
They're still going. We had a meeting last week. And our goal is to go live in August. The new radios and the squads are supposed to be installed the week of July 21. That'll take a few days. And are finishing stuff up. So hopefully in August we can live.
Okay, let's back up a second. Can't let you get away without your budget report. Budget reviews. Do you want to go through them quickly?
We can. Almost nothing has changed from last month. If you guys have a question about any one of the budget numbers, by all means. But
Are we buying the long-term Spillman or just the yearly one? That ever settle out?
So right now, just
Still-
the yearly one.
Still working on maybe?
And they've sent a new agreement for later in the year, but it has things that are, we already paid for with that large agreement, just paid that 28,000. So between myself and Neil and Tom, we're hoping to be able to narrow that down with a guy at Motorola whose name I also think might be Neil. And he's not very receptive to responding.
Curious.
we'll send him an email and wait days to hear back from him.
Okay, well, the obvious question is for budget 210. On here, it doesn't, you don't just say 5-year agreement for flex and everything, but you think you'll still come in pretty close to the budgeted expenditures in
So far,
so far. Okay. Anybody else have anything? Just again, scanning through these things quickly. I guess in 211. According to this, it's under, but you're saying I have 1,800 left for.
the equipment.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Still have 6 months to go. So is that going to come out of hopefully some new revenue things?
We actually met yesterday to talk about having our EMP program and buying our equipment for that, which will hopefully create revenue, more revenue.
Because these questions will pop up in finance again.
And we have $1,800 in that line. So that means we can only spend $1,800 out of that line.
Okay. Moving on quickly, budget 240, you're over because of the Valley Port, it's in that. And that's again, more sources of revenue. Okay.
But we did get an insurance check, correct? For the jail repair or the elevator.
About 3,000 or so.
Like 3,400.
3,400.
Yep.
Okay.
Cost them that much to mail it.
Right.
We'll take it.
Okay, and then 214 K9, that all comes out of a separate fund.
Mhm.
And it's not levied
Correct.
that way. 29, well, it's just an item within the budget thing. Okay. 212, no concern. 13, no concern. 233, no concern. 240, no concerns. Edge 220. So, close. 221, no concerns. 236, no concerns. So most of these are 225. 237, all no concerns. And then who signed it? So any questions on that?
I do. Are you looking at any way of considering a way out of the States building thing that we are currently in?
Where would we go?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I asked the Ladysmith Police Chief 2 weeks ago, Kevin, you guys have a major case tonight in the city. Where is your police department going to store that evidence? And his response was, I don't know. The only place we would have is Gates. So if they had to store, let's say they had a homicide by intoxicated use of motor vehicle, and you got to store 2 vehicles, they have nowhere to put them besides Gates.
Are there any city or county owned businesses that are vacant that would be appropriate to be able to use for both the city and the county? Does anybody know?
You know, the problem would be like, let's say, Public Works. You know, they couldn't store them there because the law enforcement is the only people that can have access.
Not secure.
I don't know, just thinking.
Is it mandatory? I know we think we talked about this, but I mean, does it mandatorily have to be heated inside space?
Is it mandatory?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, but it's obviously nice, convenient.
We use Gates a lot for continuing education and training for our department. So in the wintertime, when it's obviously cold outside, we use that building at least twice a year for our entire department and the police department to train in there. It's nice to be able to train with our own in-house trainers because it saves us a lot of money. Instead of sending people to trainings, we can train the sheriff's department and the police department right here.
Yeah, the only concern, I mean, somewhat of a concern is that the sheriff's department's not truly showing their true cost. Because they're not paying for that space or what, I mean, that's, so you're not, you know, you're not showing where you're training, you're training, but you're using a space that you're not paying for. So this doesn't, you don't have true cost in your budget. You don't have that true cost. I mean, someday, I would think someday, hopefully, in my opinion, we build a new government center, we build a new jail, and we build, I mean, someday you'll have a place to train or whatever, but, you know, right now, it's not reflected in the budget, the money that someday gonna have to be spent, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, it'd be great to build a government center. But I think the numbers we looked at were
I don't,
67 or 68 million. If I remember right, that was a couple years ago, but
I mean, it's hard to keep figures that are factual if you don't have factual figures. But and the police chief and I talked about creating a space. It's not interior, it's not heated, but I mean, the city does have an available space. It's outside. I mean, it would take some work to put some extra chain link fence up and, you know, maybe a camera or something, but
you could use that for like stolen vehicle or maybe a hit and run vehicle or a vehicle that they got into a pursuit with and caught the person to store. But for homicide vehicles, you can't store those outside. Because oftentimes you have to go back months later to relook at evidence.
washed away.
Yeah.
As I've stated at a few other meetings, the city does own rec center space that I think we'd have to make available free of charge, you know, for our local law enforcement to train right here. in the community. It's already a cost that the city is bearing to keep the building up, so only cost would be folks' time there and moving any equipment in and out.
Where is this?
Where'd you talk at?
Yeah,
The rec center at the old Windu School, that project where we repurpose an old building for workforce housing and stuff. And then, you know, a couple buildings have been sent over the years. Or indoor storage locations. Even if, you know, one over in Bruce that I think is still available for sale, that the county's had a few chances to get and never has. Maybe it wouldn't be appropriate for your emergency response vehicles because, yeah, you need those when you need them. And if your folks are stationed right here, you need to, yeah, get in them and get cranking. But, you know, maybe there's a garage out at the highway department that holds seasonal equipment, and that seasonal equipment could sit in Bruce just as easily as it does in Ladysmith. You know, things like that. But as far as I'm aware from attending lots of meetings, probably more than I should have had to on this subject. Never gotten talked about, never gotten researched. Grant opportunities that were presented to county officials have never been followed through on that would have helped you pay for some of this stuff. I guess I'll, you know, also add, and if it gets too far, feel free to rein me in. You know, we're talking about a jail and a highway shop, and the big issue that keeps coming up is, well, how can the people afford this? What, you know, all of that. Well, how do you increase your budget or your ability to repay borrowing for things like that or other things that you need other than economic development, bringing in more businesses, bringing in a larger population, increasing the tax base. I'll leave it at that.
okay. Okay, any other?
No, I think it's worth being to. Finale.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the budget report for the sheriff's department and forward on to finance committee. Motion is made and seconded to approve the budget report for the sheriff's department and forward to the finance committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, anything more on the tower project update than what you just said?
Nope,
Hopefully by August.
in August, we'll go live.
Okay, let's move on to the G911 that grant application.
We would like permission to apply for that. We've done a couple PTAP grants for 2025 that helped us pay for a lot of some of the radio grade equipment. And there's another one in 26. We would like to apply for that. And one of the main things in that grant is for dispatch furniture. Because dispatch furniture is expensive. Dispatcher chairs are expensive, thousands of dollars.
Judge's chairs.
What? We also have offsite EOC and dispatch council. That doesn't have furniture at all. And we would like to hopefully receive this grant so we can update and upgrade the furniture that all of our dispatchers and jailers use 24 hours a day.
What is the amount of the grant that you're applying for?
We would have to look at how much the equipment is going to cost first.
It's kind of, I don't want to say open-ended, but I mean, you got to come up with something first then. Is there any, I noticed some of these things have very specific things. You must use it for this or the eligibility and this and that. Is there any downside for applying for this grant?
No.
Yeah.
No, and it doesn't show it in here, but if you actually click on the link for allowable and unallowable expenses, it gives a detailed list of what is allowed.
Is it like you gotta match the funds or?
10%.
10%? Well,
And dispatch chairs are $3,000.
Yeah,
It's quite expensive. Would like to be able to get those stand up down workstations too. Dispatchers can stand up if they need to and stretch while they. And then get any furniture for out at the EOC, the offsite dispatch center. Right now, it's just on an old cart. So.
So by offsite, you're talking about the Jump River Electric stuff.
Okay.
Any other questions? This has to be in by the end of August, right?
I definitely don't have a problem with it, so if you need a motion to approve them applying, I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to allow the sheriff's department to apply for the NG 911 fiscal year 26 NG 911 PSAP grant. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Both say no. Motion carried. Sheriff's office server storage.
So you, me and Matt, they got the email. We got a nasty gram from IT. So we have one of the drives that we use to store crime scene photos, crime scene videos, case videos and photos, is super full because it has crime scene photos and videos on it that date back all the way to 2011. They said you're full. So you have one of two options. You can either A, go through manually to every single year, every single month, every single deputy, every single investigator, every single case, and start erasing photos and videos, or you can buy more servers. So we went with the cheap one. We're gonna go through manually and back 2011 to present and see what we can get rid of and erase. So let's say we met, myself, Miranda, Monica, and Krista all met, and we decided that we were all gonna do it together. So Miranda would take 2011, Monica 12, Krista 13, me 14, finish a year. We're gonna check back our status by first week of August to make sure we all have a year done. And our goal is to have that project completed by January 1 of 26. Because we didn't budget to buy more servers. So it's gonna be a very large task, but we'll all take a bite of the sandwich, and one person, it would take
The rest of
months and months and months and months to do. So we'll all pick a year, plug away, and hopefully have it done by January 1.
Isn't there any way to like download it off the server into other storage space or storage?
Visit drives.
Yeah, but they're expensive to hold that much data. You're better off just buying a server, more servers.
I'm not an IT guy, but that's what I was thinking. Why couldn't, you know?
Yeah, so our plan is to go through each year and erase as much as we can. But every single year, there's cases that are permanent retention. Sexual assaults, homicides, death investigations, missing persons. We also have to go into each case to look to see, let's say it was a felony and the statute of limitations is 7 years. We have to go in there and look to see if there was a conviction, if there was an appeal process, if the appeal process is over. So on a lot of the cases, there are gonna be multiple steps to do to see if we can get rid of that picture and video evidence. So there is a lot that we can get rid of. We know that for sure. We could probably get rid of, I'm gonna guess 75% of all that stuff. So then what we'll do is we'll take 2011, we're done erasing what we can erase. Then we'll have IT buy a larger zip drive to store it on that zip drive. And then we'll have a secure place to label those and store them. So it's not on the server at all.
You're pruning first.
Mhm.
Yeah. We don't want to pay to save things we don't need to save. So it'll be a big project. It'll be a tedious, long project, but between the four of us, we're hoping to have it done by January 1.
Not being a computer person, but so you're saying you're gonna delete what you can, the other stuff you're gonna put on zip drives?
Yep.
And just set that aside, so, okay.
Yes. And then in 15 years, the next office staff can do it.
Well, let's do it again.
I was just thinking, I mean, so what is what the retention is? So like, when next year comes, would you go back 10 years and review that year so you would keep up with it then?
So once we get this huge chunk done, every single year,
That's it,
we
yeah.
will do that for like 2021
That's
and
it.
then 2022.
Yeah. So once you get caught up, then you would keep up with it.
Yeah.
So- So you won't leave the next guy the same problem that.
Well, we might change our mind.
And then that's bad.
Never say never.
Yeah,
That's the plan, to keep up with it.
I understand.
Any other questions for him regarding that? Okay, the next thing on the agenda is a grant for Gates Building and possible referral to county board. That,
Okay, so 2 months ago, we talked about this and the consensus out of this committee was, can someone please reach out to the EDA and ask them what it would take to get this portion of this resolved? So Rich and I did that. They said that the agreement expired. There should be one extra for Miranda in case she needs it. They said that the agreement,
That's Al.
I have.
The public?
it just got finished yesterday. That's why I am handing it out now.
Okay, but it's.
still a draft.
So the EDA said, yep, this was over in 2019. Please submit a letter to us describing the original scope of the project and ask for a release. And they also indicated that either the county or the city could send this letter. So this is what Rich and I have drafted, and we want to know what you guys want to do with it.
Motion to take it to the next step, whatever that is,
County board.
county board.
Al,
So, property used consistently with purposes outlined in the grant application, 2004 to 2019. That includes the, sheriff's department use, which started in 18. Someone's willing to put their name to that.
I will.
I can tell you somebody in this room's gonna send them evidence to the contrary. You guys can put that money and stuff at risk if you want to. Between you, I guess, and your attorney.
this was, I think they're talking about probably the 2019 date rather than 2018.
You guys can change the letter however you see fit.
Wouldn't it be that the full county board could change this letter however they see fit, because that's who's officially sending it, right? Or no?
If you guys want to send a recommendation to the county board, that is under your purview. If you want to leave it as is and have the county board amend it there, that is also a choice.
So like to do.
I don't necessarily have a problem with using the facility. I mean, if someone has to use it, I just have the problem that it's that, rent's not being paid, so true costs are not being, shown. Have to have a place to store their stuff. I understand that. But some type of rent should be paid to show the true cost of what it costs to run a sheriff's department.
Yep, no disagreement to opinion like that, but like Alan had mentioned, this is like a most multifaceted thing, and the EDA thing, like, we would need to clean up regardless. Like, so the EDA said this was over in 2019. I don't know the exact date the sheriff's office moved in, like, that happened. We can't go back and undo that. So like, we're also trying to clean up the EDA issues out at the Tony Rail Yard too. So, I mean, either way, this needs to be addressed at some
It's been
point.
6 years and nobody has sent anything to the EDA. If you want me to put my name on that, I will put my name on it. Nobody's going to prison. We're gonna wait for 15 years to figure it out. Like, let's take some action.
Yeah, I just have a horrible feeling about that building, the way it reeks from fiberglass. It's like, that is bad in there. Cause I know they had the ambulance there for a while. And never heard so much complaining from ambulance people as I did for the smell that they had to tolerate.
And there's mold all over in there. We have to leave windows down in vehicles. Three of the last 5 people that I personally brought out there to show the building to them for possible economic development have said, I'm super sorry for wasting your time. This is disgusting.
And part of the reason, because the building is not necessarily being used the way it was designed to be used, so therefore it doesn't have the proper air exchange going and the doors opening and closing with trucks coming in. So it gets stuffy and stale and stanky in
Yeah,
there.
it's icky.
Yeah, because if it's gonna be used for the type of use that it's being used now, the HVAC system should be looked at to do air exchanges on that, to do timed air exchanges, to suck out stale, stanky air and bring in fresh air, or whatever. That's just why because it's just not technically, it's not being used enough, basically. That's why it's getting,
And I don't think we want to pump that money into it either.
well, probably not, but that's.
I'm gonna leave go ahead, Al.
Oh, I was gonna add, I think it wound up in this committee, and Ms. Heath, please correct me if I'm wrong, but every time it gets brought up at joint management, kind of one of the holdups there is, well, yeah, where are we gonna put them? Sort of like Sheriff addressed earlier when he was asked. Are you looking into alternative locations? Well, where are we gonna go? I thought anyway, that was kind of more of the charge that was put to this committee. Well, joint management can't find them a place to go that needs to start at emergency services. Is that
I think that was Jerry's interpretation of it, but I'm talking about like 2 meetings ago. Like, if you go back and watch the recording, the discussion kind of centered around the EDA thing. So maybe like clean that up. And then I know that at the ad hoc construction committee meeting, they had discussed, as Mr. Gorsinger mentioned, it would be great to start investing in our own infrastructure so we can fix some of these problems, but unfortunately that vote failed. But they did mention if we can get a highway department built, leaving that shell and utilizing that for county storage. So hopefully we can start making some progress on the county end with our infrastructure, and then that will maybe alleviate this issue.
We first need to get released from contracts that were due 6 years ago.
What was that again, Phil?
We need to get released from these contracts that were
Yeah.
due up to 6 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. I'd just rather have my motion. Let's try and get rid of that paperwork. And then Ladysmith Police, Russ County Police, Ladysmith City, County, whatever, can start discussing it. Let's get rid of that obstacle in the way right now. My motion is just to take it. It can be amended on the floor at the county board if it has to be, but.
So your motion is to forward this to county
As
board.
is. If they want to add language, we can do that at the county board meeting.
They're gonna know less about it than we do.
So eventually, I mean, who does sign this then?
That would be up to the county board. Usually the chair signs things that the board passes, but if he doesn't want to sign it, you can nominate the sheriff to sign it. You can nominate me to sign it. It would be in your motion who you're authorizing to send this. Should be.
Okay, the motion has been made to forward this to county board. Is there a second?
Just to keep it moving, I'll second it.
Appreciate that.
I mean, we gotta do. It's just been dead in the water for a long time, so I gotta do something.
Motion has been,
Was just gonna ask, do you have copies of your correspondence with EDA that led to this letter?
Sure.
Put together that you
You want me to just forward it to you?
if you could, yeah.
motions are made and seconded to forward this letter to the county board at the next county board meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
And I must admit, Al, I only saw your letter this morning, 2 minutes before this meeting started, because as you can see, I don't have a cell phone I'm looking at. I don't have a computer I look at all the time, so I'll read it later.
Sure.
Okay, if there's nothing else, set the next meeting date for August 13th at 8 o'clock again. Any further items? Okay, then I will adjourn the meeting at 58.
58 minutes.
It's because Miranda talks so much.
I'm just chatty.